Hi, it's May 8th. It's been a week since I last checked in. When I checked in last time, I was 3.8 pounds down, or at least that's what I reported. I actually miscalculated. It was a full 4 pounds. That little bit extra really matters. And I had said that I was looking forward to checking in here today because there were a lot of positive changes taking place. And I was excited to report that maybe I'd be another 4 pounds down or another couple of pounds down. But when I weighed myself this morning, I'm about where I was last week. Now, I think the tendency is for people who are wanting to take weight off to focus on that number on the scale and let it determine how good they should feel or how bad they should feel about themselves or about their results. And I admit I fall into this trap too. I get on the scale all excited, knowing that I'm doing all these positive things, that I'm doing some really healthy stuff, and expecting to see the number reflect that. And when it doesn't, it's like, man, why am I even bothering? And so I took a little bit of inventory of what it is I've actually been doing because actually over this last week, a lot of things have really changed for me. And in the last couple weeks, there's been a lot of really positive changes. And I want to break that cycle of letting that number determine how I should feel about what I'm doing. So I've made a list of some of the changes that have occurred for me, and I wanted to focus on those. And yeah, when I come to these video podcasts, I'm going to let you know what the weight is currently and what's going on there. But I think it's more important to focus on what else is going on that is positive. What are the healthy lifestyle changes that are occurring? So I've been doing a lot of work on myself. I reported it some time back that both my partner and I have started to see a counselor. We've gone as a couple a few times, and we've also gone individually. And it's been really good for me to talk things out with somebody else and to just kind of wrap my head around what's going on for me. And I've talked a bit about patterns that I've had in relationships, and I realized that one of the patterns that I've had in relationships is because I want the relationship to be solid and secure. I sometimes feel nervous about asking for too much or stating what my needs are or putting myself out there. And this has really been a challenge in the relationship that I'm currently in. My partner has a lot of sensitivities, and so he's really affected by things like sound or sense or food or what have you. And so I know that in this relationship, I've kind of let myself sort of shrink into the background a little bit because I didn't want to make him uncomfortable. So where I used to play music and dance around my house, with him, I don't necessarily do that, or I'm cautious about what kind of music I pick, or when I pick it, or how loud I play it, or what kind of mood he might be in. And so I find myself always kind of thinking ahead to how he might react to something so that I'm not like upsetting him, or I guess more importantly, on a deeper level, that I'm not somehow threatening the relationship. And what I've discovered in the counseling is, I'm getting to a point where I'm feeling frustrated with this. And it's not really a frustration with him, it's more a frustration with myself. There are aspects of myself that I haven't let be fully alive because I've been so worried about how he might respond and whether or not that would jeopardize the relationship that I've just kind of held back. And so, one of the really significant changes that's taken place for me over the last week or so is I'm no longer doing that. There's actually been a few things that I've posed to him that in the past I would have expected, or in my head, I would have expected him to be an absolute no on. And to give him credit where I perhaps haven't given him credit before, he's actually been way more open minded and way more receptive to what I've put out there. For example, I moved out to Saanich because he's more of a small town boy than a big town boy. I was living right downtown when we met, and he hated coming downtown. So I moved out there. We've got a beautiful place. We're on the ocean. We've got a beautiful view. We've got our own beach. There's forest and trees all around. It's a lovely spot. But I found myself lately being drawn back into Fairfield. I had to go there for some business stuff a little while back, and I found myself driving around looking at all the people, especially with this beautiful weather, just wanting to be a part of a community again. And I felt really depressed when I got home because I thought, nah, this is something he's never going to be open to. And yet, when I put it out there, how would he feel about moving back downtown at some point? He was actually way more receptive. He had a couple of thoughts about it. He doesn't particularly want to live in a house where there's other people, but he wasn't opposed. And what I discovered was it's okay for me to actually say what it is I need and what I want, and that maybe I haven't given him enough credit, that perhaps he's grown as well in our relationship and in his ability to be open minded and to tolerate things that in the past would have really affected him. And there's been other things as well, playing more music around the house. Our cat disappeared, and so we've talked a little bit about the possibility of getting a kitten at some point in the future if our cat doesn't turn back up. And he's been open to that as well, whereas before he was adamant that he would never have another kitten. When our kitten was little, he drove us nuts. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit about this, but the big significant change for me is I'm no longer holding back who I am. I'm at a point where it's like, I got to live fully. I got to live freely. I got to be authentically me. How ironic that my business name is Your Authentic Self. And yet, without even really realizing it, I've been not being as authentic as I normally would be because of my concern for what might happen in this relationship. And, the realization I've had is I would rather be authentic and be alone than be inauthentic and be in a relationship. And yet the irony is that when I put out there what I need, he's respectful, he's more open than I expect him to be. And when I put out something I'm vulnerable about, he actually thanks me for sharing it and says that he loves me more and respects me more as a result. So that's a significant change that's taking place. It doesn't show up on a scale. There is no number that reflects how much more authentic I'm becoming or how much more open I am to just trusting myself and trusting him. But that's a really, really significant change. And as a result of that, I'm feeling way more energized. I think, and this is an ironic choice of words, I always pay attention to the words that my clients use when they describe their challenges, but I think there's been a weight I've been carrying, literally as well as figuratively, as a result of worrying and being concerned about what he might think about things. And that weight has totally lifted. I'm feeling more vibrant. I'm feeling more energized. I'm feeling more real. I'm having more fun. Another interesting change that has occurred for me is I'm actually inspired to really have a healthy lifestyle. And this is new. Other times in the past when I've tried to lose weight, I've focused on eating a certain way to take weight off, but I hadn't really wrapped my head around being a healthy person or having a healthy lifestyle. But I've actually been really just compelled to do certain things, not because I'm trying to lose weight, but because I actually want to do it. So, for example, my morning egg and toast and cheese and mayo has been replaced with these really awesome vegetable and fruit smoothies. And I'm totally happy with that. It feels really good. I've been bringing in snacks to work and healthy lunches. I actually have a cupboard in my office that I've stocked with really healthy stuff so that it's available to me. I've started substituting in my morning coffee a soy instead of milk because I think that my body just likes soy better. I've actually found myself times when I would have gone into the Starbucks to get my normal caramel macchiato, actually going, I think I'd rather go to the office and get some work done and have a tea. And to me, that's really surprising. It's not something I'm making myself doing, but it's just something that I feel compelled to do. I started looking into living or eating clean, so eating foods that only have, a few ingredients and then making things from scratch, that sort of thing. And so there's really been a shift that I can actually feel occurring in my brain away from the way I was eating before and towards just adopting a healthier lifestyle. I've also found myself recently really ramping up my workouts. So I've been pulling out my workout books and magazines that I've had and looking at alternatives to what I've been normally doing. Normally I do 30 minutes of cardio, some kettlebell, maybe some weights. But I've started trying out heavier weights and different types of weights and exercises that before I would have gone, that's too hard. I don't want to put myself out there that much. I actually this morning took on some of those really hard exercises and was surprised to see that my body could do it. So I'm feeling way more motivated, way more energized, way more sort of excited about a healthy lifestyle. And so I'm not going to let that number on the scale, put me down or throw me off because it's really not about a number that shows up. That number can fluctuate. That number can fluctuate having your period. That number can fluctuate when you're not drinking enough water. That number can fluctuate from morning to night. That number can fluctuate based on a number of different factors. And the fact is, my body is changing. My lifestyle is changing. My psyche is changing. What kinds of thoughts I'm having, how I'm feeling is changing. And again, those things are not measurable by a number on a scale. So yes, I will report what the number is as the number continues to go down because I'm convinced that something is changing within me. And as I continue doing what I'm doing, it will be reflected in my physical body. I am aware that what's it called? What's it called? Muscle weighs more than fat and takes up less space. And so my body's changing, and that number staying the same may be a reflection of the fact that I'm actually letting go of fat and putting on more muscle. But I will report the number as I check in. But I think more importantly, what I really want to do is focus on these healthy changes that are occurring and how can I keep those ever present in my mind when the number on the scale is one that I'm not as happy to see. So it's been a great week, despite the weird number not moving. And I'm hoping you're going to show up next week and see what's changed then. Have a lovely week. Enjoy the sunshine, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.